And I think in the world that we're in today is like, we are going to have a lot more Steve Jobs because we don't need as many Steve Wozniaks.
Hi, I'm Jayson Manship, host of Authentic and Agentic, presented by TechPoint. Every week on this show, we break down what's happening in AI and what it means for how we work, lead, and live. Join me for a human-focused conversation that keeps you ahead of the curve. This is the Authentic and Agentic podcast on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. Hi, friends. Jayson Manship here from Authentic and Agentic. Glad to have you guys this week. We like to start every show with a news segment where I pick a handful of stories throughout the week that I think are worth discussing. And as you know, if you've listened, this show is really about the human side of AI. And so a lot of times the conversations don't have answers necessarily. It's more about just getting us to think about some of the stuff that's happening in the world of AI around us. And so today I'm going to touch on a few of those things. First story, and this is one of the most fascinating stories that I saw, comes from Axios. Axios, if you've listened, is one of my favorite sources. They do an awesome job of covering AI. And they were talking about Elon Musk's lawsuit with OpenAI, Sam Altman. And there's a court case going on in California right now. We've talked about it in the last couple episodes. But inside of all that drama, interestingly, references to personal text, emails, and even digital diaries from some of these AI execs. And here's what I started thinking about. What happens when your conversations with AI become legal evidence, as could be playing out here in real time in California? So Axios says that courts are increasingly treating chatbot conversations as discoverable material in lawsuits and criminal proceedings. And I think that's super interesting. For decades, people understood certain conversations as protected. Your lawyer, your doctor, your therapist couldn't be admissible in court. Those are conversations that are protected. But conversations with ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or Grok, those protections don't seem to exist right now, at least not right now. And Sam Altman has even come out and said this publicly. He said that, whatever you put in ChatGPT could be admissible. So one recent case involved a man that was using Claude to help him prepare for conversations with his attorney. So even though the attorney-client privilege existed, the preparation for his conversation with his attorney was admissible, which is wild. Think about that for a second. So you and I are using AI. Some of us, therapist, business strategist, confidant. Some of us are using it as a journal or helping us prepare legal discussions, right? Business discussions, financial discussions. Even a place to process our emotions. But here's a couple thoughts. One, unlike a diary sitting in your bedside drawer, these systems are timestamping, creating searchable histories and behavioral patterns. They understand emotional framing over time. They create evidence trails. Like, that's really interesting, right? And here's the part that I think probably none of us are thinking about. If you compare an AI tool like ChatGPT to a diary, right? Your diary is a piece of paper sitting there or a computer that you're typing into. It's a blank white piece of paper, and it's waiting for you to write in it. AI is trying to keep you talking. That's a totally different dynamic, right? So these systems are engineered to do things like, tell me more. How did that make you feel? What happened next? And this creates a level of disclosure that we humans don't really understand, right? We're just interacting with the tool and potentially creating some problems for ourselves in the future if it ever becomes admissible in court. And so I think we're heading toward a world where your AI history is probably as important as your browser history or your text messages or your emails. And eventually courts and regulators and lawmakers are going to have to answer that massive question. Should these receive privilege protections when humans are using them as stand-ins for a therapist or an attorney or an advisor? Because right now, most people are treating these tools emotionally without understanding the legal implications. I think that's a pretty interesting spot to think about. So just put that in your ponder, right? Just think about that. The second story this week comes from Wired. I read Wired a lot. And they had a story about AI-powered toys for toddlers and young children. I think this is going to be a big thing this Christmas season. This one stuck with me because they referenced an article from a research paper from the University of Cambridge studying how kids are interacting with these AI-enabled toys. And there was one part that just stuck out to me specifically. Lots of really interesting stuff in that. If you want to go read it, it's a paper from University of Cambridge, and it's all about the human side of connecting with these toys as children, as toddlers. And here's the thing that I took out of it, though. The robot toys that they tested couldn't talk and listen at the same time. They had like this serve and volley type of exchange where like The kid would talk to the robot would process it and come back and ask the kid a question and kind of go back and forth. Well, that's not how natural human conversation works. I mean, if we were better listeners, it's probably how it should work, but that's not reality. And so in this model, these AI bots for kids, kid talks, robot pauses, robot responds, kid waits. And what the researchers noted was that the children actually adapted themselves to fit the machine. That feels like a really important metaphor for where we're headed with AI overall. The next generation, I don't think, is just about using AI, it's about how we adapt around it. And I think parents need to pay attention to this very early. We spent the last decade, I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, talking about screen time, iPads, phones, YouTube, TikTok, social media algorithms, AI toys. This is not passive entertainment. This is not just get out an iPad and click some buttons. This is simulated relationship. And whether companies are going to admit it or not, these systems are designed for attachment and engagement and retention and emotional continuity. These are designed to create, in some ways, a relationship with your child. The toy remembers your child. This toy responds to your child. The toy develops conversational familiarity with your child. Guys, this is a completely new category. And here's the scary part for me. Most parents probably assume that these products are just smart toys. But these companies are building behavioral models around children in real time. This isn't to attack any of these companies. This is to coach us up as parents to understand what we're getting into. This is the world and it is coming. Just handing our kid one of these tools and not understanding what we're handing them is, I think, the problem. So these companions could become tutors. They could become emotional support systems. They could become social confidence builders, digital friends, bedtime companions. Like, there's so many potential beneficial things that these tools could do, these toys, these games, whatever can do. But if we learned anything from social media, technology tends to scale faster than society's ability to understand the consequences. And so think about that for a second, right? I think adults at least understand, or at least most adults understand, that there's a machine on the other side of this. Young children may not be able to fully separate that. Can they separate a simulation from a relationship, or responsiveness from care, or prediction from empathy? I don't know. And I think this is the next major parenting conversation of the AI era. It's not how much screen time should my kid have. It's how much emotional influence should AI systems have over my child. For the third story this week, I want to talk about something personal. Last week, I had the opportunity to speak at the Indiana Chamber. They partner with Bank of America, and they put on the CFO Roundtable, and they invite CFOs from Indiana to come. And we had 50-ish financial leaders from across Indiana. It was pretty cool. I got a chance to talk to a room full of really smart people that are leading companies. And if you're listening to this podcast, you know AI is taking over. It is impacting everything. And I think probably here's my biggest takeaway from that talk was that historically tech decisions lived with the CIO or inside the IT department. But because AI isn't just infrastructure, I think it's different. AI touches, think about it, legal, finance, HR, operations, customer service, marketing, sales, hiring, compliance, forecasting, governance, like reporting. Good golly, it touches everything, right? Every single department inside of a company. And because of that, I think CFOs are quickly becoming one of the most important decision makers in the company. As AI touches everything, the CFO, particularly because they touch everything, is actively engaging and involving in the AI conversation. And think about it. They have risk. They understand efficiencies. They understand governance and accountability. They understand jobs. They understand organizational impact, right? It's a big part of these companies. It touches every little piece of it. And I think the CFO roles are becoming more predominant and more focused in a seat at that table of the AI conversations. And I think the companies that are winning with AI aren't necessarily the ones with the fanciest models. They're the companies that are trying to change the fastest, the ones that are using AI to create leverage and understanding their risks and policies and making sure that their people are coached up and trained, right? This is a big part of what companies at that scale, right? If you're big enough to have a CFO, these are the things your company needs to be thinking about. And I think the takeaway at the very end of the presentation for me, because I got a lot of questions from these CFOs about how do we think about this, what do we need to be doing, et cetera. The one point I emphasize to them that I'll share here too, I believe fundamentally now is the time to hire young AI native talent, because there is an entire generation of folks entering the workforce right now that have spent years experimenting with ChatGPT and Claude and workflow automation and prompt engineering and research and coding using AI. And I mean, these folks, it's native to them. You don't have to teach them how to use Claude. They're wired to figure it out. And these employees are arriving with leverage that previous generations just didn't have. One highly AI enabled employee today can create output that used to take whole teams of people to do. Think about that for a second, right? And I think that there is, from what I hear from my friends at TechPoint, there are a lot of companies that just aren't hiring that right now because they're not sure what to do with AI and what it's going to do to jobs and everything else. Guys, to me, I think this is the time to be buying. And when I talk to leaders at some of the biggest companies in town, that's how they're thinking about it. They're not hiring one or two, they're hiring 20 in these larger companies because they see that opportunity and they see it as a way to grow and scale faster. So if you're looking to hire young talent, go see my friends at TechPoint. They are driving Indiana's innovation ecosystem in a real way, right? These are the folks that are connecting to the universities, to the students, and to employers, and they can help you find amazing talent. Get an extern, get an intern, get somebody to come and plug into your company in these ways, and these folks will have a dramatic impact. And I do also want to call out our other sponsor, Indiana Wesleyan. So this is a university that's working hard to prepare graduates, right? They have adapted overnight to become the de facto place to try to get students ready to go, to come into your workplace and make an immediate impact with an AI first economy. That's what these guys are doing. And so whether companies are ready or not, AI is changing the org chart. And I do want to say thank you to both TechPoint and to Indiana Wesleyan for sponsoring this podcast and sponsoring this show, because they are doing things to help make Indiana better, and I'm grateful for that. So let's cut to a sponsor break for both of those orgs. Again, thank you to both of them for helping make this podcast a reality. When we come back, we'll do our interview with Tom Rector from Thumbprint. AI isn't just changing jobs, it's changing who gets hired. TechPoint's new brief, AI amplifies the need to address the experience gap, shows how AI is changing entry-level jobs and how employers can take advantage of this moment. Download the brief and find out ways to get involved at techpoint.org/AI gap. AI is transforming every industry, and Indiana Wesleyan University is preparing professionals to lead that change. IWU offers a Master of Science in AI and Data Analytics, a graduate certificate in AI Business Innovation, and an Applied AI Analytics concentration, all designed for working adults. Flexible, online, Christ-centered, and grounded in biblical ethics. Discover how IWU can help you find the way forward. Visit indwest.edu. Thank you again to TechPoint and Indiana Wesleyan for helping make this podcast a reality. I am excited today to introduce you to my friend Tom Rector. Many of you probably already know him. He's kind of a big deal. But Tommy and I have known each other since he was called Tommy. We'll talk briefly about that. But Tom and I went to school at Ball State together. He was the president of the student body at Ball State 2 years before I was. So we got to know each other a little bit on the professional side of students, right? Where we were trying to make a difference at our alma mater, at our university at the time. But Tom has been just a mentor and a leader for many years. He is one to kind of sprint into the fire like I am. You're going to hear in this conversation, he's very entrepreneurially minded, thinking bigger and always like, what's next and how do I take that next step? And so I wanted to have him on because he runs a very tactile business that is scaling quickly, and you're going to hear the story. But it's interesting because I wanted to hear his perspective on like, how does AI change what you're doing? Right now, I think his company has a huge foothold and a huge head start because of his leadership, but his industry is going to catch up, right? And so how's he thinking about that? because AI is an equalizer in a lot of ways. And so it's really cool to hear him talk and really cool to understand his vision and his perspective. I think you're going to love Tom. So let's get to the interview. Thomas Rector.
Yeah.
I knew you was Tommy in college, but it's Tom Rector.
Yeah. So I come from a Tom Rector. So growing up, I was always Tommy. And then entering the professional world, you just evolve to Thomas or Tom.
Well,
right?
especially with Chris Farley's movie. Right?
Yes.
Nobody wants to be that guy. So, all right. Well, Tom Rector, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
Glad to have you.
Thanks, Jayson.
So you and I have known each other for a long time. We were buddies in college. And I've always admired you. You were a couple years older than me. I hate to use the term older, wiser maybe. But you came before me and showed me the ways.
Sure. Right.
Exactly.
The ways not to go.
Well, I don't know. I followed in your footsteps in a lot of ways. And so I've always admired your professional journey. You have always been kind of lean in entrepreneur. Tell us, for those that don't know what you're doing now, tell us what you're up to, kind of how you got to where you are today.
Well, I think going back, I start with how I grew up. Like my family were all dentists. They're all dentists. And dentists become successful just because of the trade. Right. And I grew up with my dad starting from nothing. Like I was born while he was in dental school. He started his own practice. When you start your own practice, you're literally starting a business. And over time, he got very, very successful. But early in the day, like back in the day, we were scraping pennies together. It was a whole different world back then. But my dad and all of my uncles, my cousins, they're all dentists. Right? If they only have that dental mind.
Is that a mind?
Yes, it's a dental mind.
It's diagnosable.
And even though they're running a business, it's not necessarily the business. They never went to business school. No one ever taught them how to do accounting and economics and all of the things that it comes to actually run a true business. So the mindset as I was growing up is, what are you going to do when you get big or you graduate? And it's like, I don't know. I love everything. I'm always so curious. I love to learn. Like I was asked, in school, it's like, what's your favorite subject? I was like, all of them. I love all of them. Like I love art. I love history. I love stories. I love math. I love science. I loved all of it. So because I was just constantly just like learning and figuring things out and understanding how things work. So engineering could be a possibility, or economics can be a possibility, or science or biology, or be a doctor, or any of these things. So, but it was always, as I was growing up, is like, okay, well, how are you going to make money?
That's real,
right? How are you going to make money? I was like,
pragmatist, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, but I know I love all of these things. So eventually I got to a point where it's like, I'm in college and it's time for internships, right? We all know what that's like. And I had an opportunity.
What were you studying in college?
I studied, I was a business administration major. I had decided I was going to own and operate nursing homes when I graduated. So I kind of went through that whole thing. But I always had a political side. I always loved politics. I love the communication of it and the campaigning side of things. So I had a double major. So I was business administration, and then I created my own campaign communication. So it was like the art of like getting people to vote for you, really, is what it was.
How fun.
So all of my collegiate stuff was focused on business and owning and operating nursing homes at some point. And all of my internship side was all on the political side. So I got an internship in Washington, D.C. I was a sophomore at the time. It was in the president's office of the American Red Cross.
Okay.
And at the time, Elizabeth Dole was the president of the American Red Cross.
Cool.
And I remember telling my parents, I was so excited. I got this internship. I'm going to be moving to Washington, D.C. for 3 months. And the first thing my parents asked was like,
how much do they pay you?
How much are you going to make? I looked at them. I'm like,
nothing.
I'm not going to make anything. And they're like, well, how are you going to do that? And I'm like, because I'm going to be working in the president's office of the American Red Cross with a lady who eventually is going to be running for president of the United States. Like, it's an experience you'll never, ever have in your life, right? And they're like, okay. So eventually they're very supportive parents, dude. Like, don't get me wrong. They let me go.
But they looked at the world differently. They
yes,
looked at the world like dentists.
Yes, absolutely. They're like, well, you have to be able to support yourself. You can't just like figure it out, right? They wanted me to have a plan because they're very structured and, atypical. And it was one of the best experiences ever. Like to be in a different city where you don't really know anyone. I knew I wanted to do internships in DC. I knew I didn't want to work on Capitol Hill or things like that where there's other people my age because it's just more of the grunt work. I wanted something that I could really have an experience. And trust me, it was one of the best experiences you could ever have is in an environment like that. And but I didn't make anything. And I lived for 3 to 4 months on $1,400 at the time.
In DC,
and I remember, this was the greatest. Like, I remember Burger King had a $2 chicken sandwich at the time. And we ate so many $2 chicken sandwiches, lunch, dinner, anytime there's like, oh, let's have a $2 chicken sandwich. Like, we're going to splurge. We're going to get a Mountain Dew tonight. Like, so it was, really trying. I mean, I lived on my own, like really made my own way, but had one of the best experiences. But all of those experiences have led me to kind of the things that I do today and how I get involved in other organizations and my team and how we look at the world is so much different.
Yeah, it's entrepreneurial.
Yeah, and so it's where that stuff starts to breed. And I think the key to that is having that curiosity and having that willingness to say yes and jump out on a ledge, not knowing if you're going to have $2 chicken sandwiches that are going to support you along the way.
Yeah.
But I was also fortunate too. Is like if I got to a point where there was a struggle or failure, my parents would have helped. Like they would have bailed me out. But we're very cautious. Like this can't be your career. There's no path to victory.
Yeah.
Right.
And now years later, you're not a dentist still.
No.
Right?
So I got to a point. It's like, look, I'm going to create a business or an organization or something. I'm going to create wealth, and I'm going to own my own dentists.
Okay.
It's like, how about that?
There you go.
We'll create our own empire at that point. So
that was the path you started down the path.
So we started down that path. Learned. You just got involved in multiple things. So right out of college, then I did get my nursing home administrator's license.
Okay.
So did start that, but then the political side kicked in and ran for city council in our hometown in Muncie.
I was a student at Ball State when that was happening.
Yes, right. So and then that then led to then met my wife, and then that whole part of my life starts to kick in. But then got hired in government affairs with the Indianapolis Board of Realtors.
Okay.
So I was doing that for 3 or 4 years. But I was
so like lobbying or what?
Yeah, so it was like lobbying, but it was a lot more on the local side. So it was into signed ordinances and zoning and property tax reform, those types of things. But there's always I was an employee at the time, but I'm still curious. I'm still learning. Yeah. I want to do more, right? So I went back to get my master's degree, and then that's where I started this company, just as a Thumbprint is its name now.
Okay.
But started it just as a way to get through college.
Okay.
It was just as a way to get through college, since I was getting my master's.
Yeah.
And but I had such a strong network from the government affairs side. So my first customers were governors and congressmen and mayors. So it was easy to get started. And we're a merchandise company. And we're just doing the basic stuff. We're doing yard signs and t-shirts and, lapel stickers and those types of things.
And you're dealing with folks who are running for office, which is an every 2 years scenario or every 4. So that's one of the things I learned in politics is it's a very cyclical business, right? I mean, you're doing it every 2 years. Yeah. And once you kind of get it down, it's the same kind of structure, especially for in our location. We have once you get elected, you tend to the next election's a lot easier. Sure.
So you just kind of go through similar types of setups that's already been built. So anyway, but then I graduated, and it's like, okay, do I want to use my degree, or do I want to see where this can go? And I'm still involved in all of the things that I like, but I really enjoyed I like to build things. I love the creativity of things and having to say something is my own, right? So it's like, and our industry is advertising specialty, it's promotional products, it's those types of things. And it's not sexy, and it's not something that everyone wakes up when they're in first grade and says, I'm going to be a promotional product salesman. Right. I'm going to own a promotional product company. My friends still don't even understand. I still tell them I sell T-shirts out of the back of my car.
Sure.
That's the max of what most people think that we do. But it goes well beyond that. I know we'll talk about that. But started to get bigger. Then it's starting to hire more people. We're scaling super fast. We're really trying to break apart where are the weaknesses within the industry and where are our competitive advantages against our competition. And we were just maximizing that over and over and over again. So it's like 4 or 5 people now working out in my living room. Then it gets weird. So then we have an office. So we have more people that start working in the office, and we start buying equipment, and it just kept snowballing on and on and on. And then eventually we get to a point where now we're 103 people. We're in 4 locations. Just last week opened up a Canadian entity, so we're moving international, shipping stuff all over the world. So,
how wild!
Yeah, it went fast.
And this, just to recap. So this started because you just needed to do something while you were still in school.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, I'll just try this thing. I'm entrepreneurial. I like the idea of building and making my own thing. And it turns out people wanted it. And you were good at it.
Yeah.
And it just kind of kept going.
Yeah. And along the way, you start sticking to principles. You start building and developing principles. And the key is to be obsessed with the customer. Like, that's what I deal with every single day. I'm so obsessed with the customer. I want to know everything about them. And I think that's what goes back to how I grew up. I was obsessed with learning and wanting to know more and the curiosity behind it, but I'm absolutely obsessed with the customer. I call customers every single day. I try to at least touch 5 customers a week. And in the morning as I'm driving into work, I'm listening to podcasts and learning and trying to absorb as much as I can. On my way home, I'm calling customers. Sure. I want to know and the feedback that they give us, but also where are the opportunities and what do they know? And I'm learning from their businesses as well. Sure. Because we work with all different types of business.
What kinds of companies and industries do you work with?
So we're pretty agnostic to the industries themselves, but we tend to we are focused on enterprise level customers. So Fortune 100 type customers. So we're talking like Enterprise, Chewy.com, American Airlines. We do Pizza Hut.
But you've grown to that point.
Yeah, we've grown to that part.
So walk me through that journey for the the small business owners that are out there that are building their own things. Mm-hmm. Started out of college, built your own thing, had 5 dudes working in your living room, right? And now you primarily work with Fortune 100 companies. Like, that's a pretty cool thing, especially when many of your friends think you're still slinging T-shirts out of the back of a truck.
Right. Yeah, and so and I mean, in our core, we're always going to be some type of a product gifting incentive type company, and we'll manufacture some of our own stuff. We do custom embroidery and screen printing. Product that they give away at trade shows and things like that. Like, the product is pretty agnostic, and we're in an industry that is very saturated.
So commoditized in a lot of ways. That's what I think of when I think of the industry. There's a lot of people that do this sort of thing.
There's 20,000 plus distributors that are like us.
Okay.
And
many of which are selling from the same catalog, the same general concepts.
We're all going to the same place. All of them are going to the same place, relatively getting it for the same price. Okay. So it's like, how do you compete?
Think about that. If you're listening to this, think about that for a second. If I have the deal of the century for you. You can start a new business where every one of your competitors is selling the same thing from the same provider, right?
Yeah.
Who would sign up for that?
Right. And not only selling it for the same from the same provider, but then it becomes a race to the bottom.
Sure.
Like where most folks are gonna compete is like, well, the only thing I have to compete on is price.
Yeah.
So I'll just chop my margin out and I'll just be the lowest cost
And one
provider.
thing I learned in business is that there's always someone that values their time less than I value my time. Right.
Yes. So when we look at our company, we really look at three things, and not one of them is product, and not one of them is price. Right?
Do tell.
So our three competitive advantages are technology, and technology is at our level and this is where we start to separate from the other 20,000. So we're at our size now. We are top 50 out of the 20,000 plus. We're probably top 50 in the world, and we're moving pretty quick. We're about to crack that top 40 real soon. So in order to be different from everyone going to the same people, getting the same products, with the same similar ideas, like we have to compete on different levels. So we compete on our technology. So being able to create e-commerce type systems and then take those e-commerce type systems and integrate them into our customers' a CRM system or HRIS system, or into their into an SSO, into a database that allows them to scale those gifting resources. And we can create workflows so we can trigger certain events that happen. So think of it from from an HR side, and they have ADT is a customer of ours.
Okay.
Perfect. This is a perfect example. They have 50,000 employees across the country.
Sure.
They all need business cards.
Yep.
Who's going to type in everyone's name, everyone's title, everyone's address in order to order an $8 set of business cards, right? It's just ludicrous, right? So we'll build an integration that just taps into their existing database. It just automatically populates. They just click a button. It goes direct to print on our side. We'll just drop ship those. We'll be done in 3 days.
Okay.
So those types of things helps us separate.
Okay.
And to have an integration in something like that
smart.
is not something that a lot of our competition has, right?
Okay.
So we compete on the technology.
Yep.
And there's lots of other examples.
I'm going to double click on that as we go.
Because we'll get into the AI where we're really starting to talk about that stuff.
Great.
We compete on the structure of our account management team. Because again, I'm obsessed with the customer experience. So we've built our account teams to be very service oriented. So it's not just a 1-to-1 ratio. There's a whole team of people that are only focused on select handful of accounts. Okay. So I put strict requirements on that. Our account team can't have more than 20 customers that they're servicing at any time, because I need them to be attentive and
it's hard to keep up
and be able to not be overloaded by just taking anyone that walks through the door. Mm-hmm. And then the third thing that separates us is on our direct sourcing. So if we're going to compete on product, I need to have product that other folks can't get. So we're starting to manufacture our own lines of stuff. Okay. We'll do custom uniforming programs for companies like Hertz Rent-A-Car. We'll do custom uniforms for them, but we're actually manufacturing those goods. Okay. They're not something that you just go to another supplier and pick those things up. So they're our designs and our relationships.
I have 8,000 questions from this. But I'm just fascinated by the fact that it's scaled to this level, right, on those principles. Because I think most business people that are listening are going to say, product and price a lot of times.
Right.
And it's not that you don't care about those things. Any customer is going to consider price in any offer.
Right.
But one of the things I've learned through business is people will pay a small premium for better service. To know that it arrives on time.
Yeah. And when I talked about our account teams and that structure, our account teams are focused on the strategic objectives of our customers.
So what do they want?
Yeah.
Not just and
it's not even just the marketing department or the HR department. What is the strategic objective of the company itself? Are they trying to grow by 20%? Are they going to add 30 locations? Are they trying to increase company culture? That's what we want to know. Because once we understand that, then we can get in as like, oh, here's how we can help design programs and campaigns and technology to help you achieve
So
your
this
actual company objective.
This isn't necessarily someone on their team calling you and saying, hey, I need to buy 10,000 t-shirts. This is someone saying, hey, we want to figure out how to do the most with merchandise and swag and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And you actually help strategically brainstorm and think through implementation of programs.
Right. Exactly. He's like, think of it as like, why would I be trying to pitch you a water bottle for a program when what really accomplish your objectives are tote bags or backpacks or, a community development campaign with, tents and balloons and banners and all that stuff. Anything that can get printed is something that we can create.
So I'm going to two weird questions, and then we'll keep digging on some of the tech stuff. But so COVID made things weird for the whole world, right? We had less get-together events, right? So I imagine, because they're not in the office every day, that swag in those moments was kind of a neat thing, right? Something you send your employees who are working from home or whatever. And then secondly, I'm witnessing just what feels like a resurgence of conferences and events and things of that nature, where it's like everybody's coming together, rallying around stuff. And so I imagine people are, to steal from Joe Dirt, the movie, they're churching up their, their swag a little bit in that process. I mean, is that a market trend? Like, what are you seeing there?
It had a peak and it had a valley, and now it's on a rocket ship right now. So of course, during COVID, like the way that people interacted, like salespeople weren't out calling on people, so the only ways that they were trying to get in front of folks was to have some type of a drop ship. But it comes back to the data side that caused the biggest limitation in a lot of that stuff. Is like, think of it from sales. No one's in the office anymore. Everyone's at home, but I don't have anyone's home address. So how do I get them things in order to get them and to get their attention so that I can have the strategic meetings that I need to, right?
I'm a sales guy trying to get in, crack through a door to a chief marketing officer at a company or some operations, whatever. So a lot of what you're doing then is on the sales side. Like, walk me through if you're, and I don't need a pie, but like you mentioned HR, you mentioned marketing.
And then really the three areas where we are most successful is HR, marketing, the marketing department. So sales and outreach type campaigns, and then third is like on events, event planning, event merchandise. Whether it's an internal team that's doing stuff, or if they're doing stuff for their user base. All
right, so let's double click on that for 1 second. People ask me all the time, how do you break through in places, right? I spent 20 years in digital marketing, very good at micro-targeting, retargeting, kind of all the things to follow you around digitally. As the world moves, it feels like that becomes less and less relevant. It's noisier, all the pieces that come with it. One of the pieces of advice I tell folks is like, go figure out something to get past the receptionist. Like, go mail them something, a box that like does something or has some bits and pieces to it that like gets their attention. I assume that's like a hard
absolutely.
part of
And I'll take it even a step further.
Please.
Is that you can use this in the technology. So using it through building a workflow that goes with it. So it's like, if I do an outreach, I don't want to just send 5 to 30, in some cases, $250 type product to the masses, right? So I need to be strategic on how I use those dollars. So I want to send the things to the person that is most likely to engage in whatever the campaign needs to be, right?
So list building on the front end to find the right people.
So list building on the front end, but also, let me get on the list build side. Let me come back to that here in a second, because that's also important. Some stuff that we're doing. So, anyways, we'll build a workflow. We'll engage what the true accomplishment of that campaign needs to be, and then if you do a sequence type event, so you do I'm gonna send. Let's just say we're gonna send out mass emails. The people that click on certain things that I want them to click on they're showing some interest. Okay, now maybe I want to follow up with a card. So then we'll automatically trigger a card send out of our system that goes to these people. And then maybe they go to a website. Well, now we got 2 trigger points. Now I want to send them something a little bit more tangible. Like maybe it's a box of cookies. Maybe it's a water bottle, whatever. It can be anything. So now I'm starting to engage them with multiple touch points, with multiple types a product, eventually trying to get them on the phone or get them to do whatever the campaign result needs to be.
Yep.
But then we go even further is like, okay, well, what's the follow-up look like? All right, I got them on the phone. I have an engagement. I don't have a deal yet. So then how do I do that? How do I keep going with the follow-up without it's just me, hey, what are you going to do? You're going to sign this? You're going to sign this, right? There has to be some other touch points along the way. So we're building systems that allow that to happen.
What I love about that is you're dealing with humans. So in general, it's learnable, right? You learn what humans psychologically resonate with and what they like and how we like to be treated, golden rule type stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not wizardry, right? But it is strategy.
Sure.
And the experience you've picked up through years of doing this is likely just invaluable, right? Because you know this is what works and this is what doesn't work. And I find that super fascinating.
Yeah, and the more interaction that from my level on the leadership side, the more interaction that I'm having with the customer and the questions that I'm asking, the understanding of their business and their needs and their goals helps me guide our team to better service those customers,
Makes total
right?
sense.
So if I'm like, oh, hey, I talked to so-and-so over there. This is what they're really trying to accomplish. This is what's really going to move the needle for them. This is how they're going to be the rock star with their C-suite if we can pull these types of things off and then help our team build the campaign that accomplishes those goals, building these whatever types of sequences, or if it's a redemption thing, or if they're at a trade show and they collect all of these leads, and it's like, well, how do they efficiently follow up with the leads with the right people at the right time? And then what do they use and how do they use it and how it will be received and is it relevant to what they're actually trying to accomplish? And
let's talk about that specifically, and let's attach the words AI at the top of this.
Mm-hmm.
How do they use? What are they using? How is it efficient? Like your tip of the spear, right? Figuring out how to serve customers well at scale. AI has come into the room and changed literally everything for everyone.
Yes.
How does it change your world? Are you guys quick to adapt and adopt? Are you worried about things that are coming? Does it create an equalizer for your competitors to catch up? Like, walk me through your worldview.
It is, I'm going to say yes and no.
Okay.
Because it's a mixed world. And I don't think folks truly understand what's coming.
Yeah.
I know
that. I talk about it every single
week. I don't think they really understand what's about to come. And so, folks are, oh yeah, we're using AI for this and AI for that. It's like, I don't think that we have truly understood the true effectiveness and what it's capable of doing and how it's going to change our lives. And what we're spending a lot of our time on right now is preparing for that. And a lot of it comes back down to that data. And I'm building, I know you are too. Like I have a software that I use and I don't like it because it's not doing X, Y, and Z. So I just build my own. I've just rebuilt my own software, right? I'm doing that right now with several different things. But where my limitations start to come in is the data and the accessibility of the data and the cleanliness of the data. Like going back to like if I want to send my grandma used to my grandpa was an insurance salesman. He sold life insurance, but he was back in the day. He was then knocked on doors.
Not a dentist.
He was not a dentist. Okay. He was not a dentist, and I talked to him more because he truly understood me rather than like he understood my business side of me. So, but he would always tell me, he's like, yeah, I know exactly how many doors I need to knock on to get one sale. He had done it over and over and over again. But my grandma, for him, would send out at the beginning of every month, would send out a birthday card to all of his customers for that month. Yeah. And I always respected that. I thought that was the coolest thing. And it's always something I really wanted to do. And it always just comes down to a time. Yeah. It's a time thing. So I built a system that will now allow me to do that. Yeah. It's just as those birthdays pop up for the month, it just automatically will send those cards, and they all get a Gertie sticker. Like you just got from my dog Gertie.
Big sweeties.
Yeah. But where the limitation is like I don't how I have thousands of contacts in my database, right? But how many have correct information? How correct is the information? How many have moved since I've had their home address or whatever, right? So it's like, how do I clean this data efficiently and keep it up to date so that I can do the things that I want. And I see that a lot with a lot of our, Fortune 100 customers.
Sure.
Some have really, really great data.
Sure.
Others are really struggle with it.
Yep.
And not by no fault of their own. It just changes so fast, and there's not an efficient way to keep it clean.
Sure.
And I think that's what is at some point is going to be the biggest limitation of the advancement of AI.
Yeah, it's only good data in, good data out,
Yes.
and bad data in, bad data out. That's one of the biggest struggles companies face is if we could have the coolest tech in the world that automatically sends birthday cards, but if we don't know where to send them or what your birthday is, that doesn't do anything.
Right. Or if the data's outdated,
Sure.
right? And just how do you keep it current? How do you keep it clean? So we're looking at ways that, because I'm talking to customers, this is something that comes up from them all of the time. It's like, we know where all of our product is, but we have no idea where all of our people are. Those types of things, they focus in different areas.
Sure.
And we are thinking of ways is like, how can we also play a role and help them keep their data clean? As it's coming into us, we have to have clean data in order to do the things that we need to do on our end to keep our integrations and our processes moving. So it's like, what role should we be playing to help them clean their data and make sure that it's accurate and that it's coming in?
Well, that's a bigger worldview. So when I asked about competitors, I imagine other competitors are similarly building tools with Claude Code or Replit or some of these tools that exist, right? And automating some processes and building some workflows and some of that. I was just with a group that's leaning hard into Salesforce automations, right? And they're building all sorts of really neat stuff. Slack bots this. And it's really neat what you can build today. But it depends on the worldview you have. And so a lot of folks are thinking, and this is kind of that next tier level of thinking and why you're wired the way you are. It's not just how do I create a piece of software to make my operations faster, but you're trying to think about like, what could I provide to my customers that's not just cheaper gizmos?
Yeah, right.
And so what I heard you say there was, we're going to walk alongside you and help you figure out how to figure out what your customers' birthdays are. Like, that's a weird task. If I was calling someone to help them mail out birthday cards, I wouldn't think that I would ask them to help me figure out how to find people's birthdays.
Yeah, and the key is once we figure it out with one customer, it's something that can be it can be commoditized over and over and over again. We may tweak some things here and there, but we use it over and over and over again, right? So it's thinking in those ways. Is like, what are the needs of our customers? But that's why I'm so obsessed with it. Is like, I want to know where they're struggling, where are their pain points, like where can we add value? Because we can do a lot of things. I have a whole technology team on staff that can build these types of concepts. And the way that the world is changing and with AI changing how it is like even how we're hiring people is different. Is like I always go back and think about what would Steve Jobs be without Steve Wozniak?
Sure.
Right. And I think in the world that we're in today is like we are going to have a lot more Steve Jobs because we don't need as many Steve Wozniaks, right? And it's thinking of
what's interesting.
Thinking of the outcomes that I'm trying to produce and having the mindset to say, okay, what is it that this system or this platform actually needs to be able to do? And then I have to be able to ask the right questions in order to get it to develop into the way that it is. And it's like, I also go back and it's like, what would Steve Jobs be who he is in the world that we live in if Steve Wozniak didn't exist? Like, what would that world look like?
What an interesting way to think about that, Tom. Like, how is it, A caused B, or, is it causation, correlation? Like, how do all these bits and pieces fit together? I mean, you can be a good sales guy, you can be a good talker, a good presenter, but without a great product, doesn't matter. I really like what you said, though, about the Steve Jobses of the world.
Right.
Are living in an unreal time in history.
Yeah. And you're the same way.
I think I would put us in the Steve Jobs side, not the Steve Wozniak
absolutely.
side, right?
Like, as I was growing up, and I remember the curiosity and how I love to learn. And when I said every subject was my favorite subject, but I do remember we had one of the earlier computers. I don't know if it was an Apple II or not, but it was old.
We'll call it Linda.
Yes, it was an old one. And I remember I was so fascinated with this thing. And it was the flat, the flat floppy disks,
yeah.
and I mean, the Oregon Trail was on there, and that's literally the only thing that we could do with it. And I knew, I was like, I know this thing can do more. I know that it can. I would play around with it, I tinker with it, but there was no one around me. There's the circle of influence. There's no one around me that knew anything about this computer. There wasn't as many resources as we have now for me to learn about it. But I knew I was just, one of those things is like, I want to know what's inside of this thing and what it's capable of doing, and I have no way to get to it. And it wasn't until AOL came out years later that I really even got in to start building things and start seeing things. But I always go back as like, okay, what would my collegiate career be like? What would your collegiate career be like if we could build the things that Mark Zuckerberg was building because he just knew how to do it?
That's right.
If we could build those things, we certainly could think about them, and we certainly could think what the opportunities could be. We just didn't have a Steve Wozniak to build it for us.
Everybody's talking about AI, but very few are actually executing. If your team is still experimenting with Copilot, you're already behind. Axia Technology Partners turns Microsoft AI into real business outcomes, and fast. Not prompts, not pilots. This is production-grade AI embedded into your workflows. As a Microsoft certified AI solutions provider, Axia TP delivers Microsoft E7, the full stack of security, identity, and AI, implemented, governed, and scaled. While others are testing ideas, Axia TP's clients are reducing costs, automating operations, and moving faster than their competitors. This isn't about trying AI, it's about operationalizing it, and now. If you're serious about results, not experiments, visit Axia Technology Partners and start executing. Visit www.axiatp.com. That's AXIATP.com to learn more.
For folks that have listened to this podcast for a while, what motivated me in 2010, I was out in Silicon Valley. I was working on huge projects, doing big things, right? And I had a chance to talk to an angel investor named Ron Conway, one of the godfathers of angel investing. And I asked him, what would you tell an aspiring entrepreneur, tech guy from Indiana? And his answer was, move to Silicon Valley. And I was like, what a pompous ass, right? Because his perspective was, out here we have better attorneys and better accountants and better systems, and we understand cap tables and we know how to do this stuff. And back home in backwater Indiana, you're not going to know how to do any of that stuff. But what you said was interesting. Like, they're not smarter than us. They just had that opportunity, right? Yeah. Steve Jobs had Steve Wozniak there.
They had the resource.
I think about that a lot, right? I think AI is leveling the playing field.
Absolutely it is.
Globally, frankly. The question is, what do you do with it? Because I tell folks all the time, if you put your head in the sand and pretend like it's not here, you're either getting on the train or you're getting hit by the train. Those are the only two options. There's no watching the train go by.
You're either at the table or you're on the menu, right?
That's even better, right? And so I think that's important for people to hear. And what I love about the way you look at the world, the way I personally look at the world, let's go build something. Right. I'm not waiting for somebody to give me permission. I'm not waiting for somebody to tell me how to do it. I'm just going to go take it apart. And I'm just going to go try to break it.
Yeah.
And we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, we're going to engineer it.
So talk to me about that in your company. Clearly a visionary leader. You've grown quickly. You're now in the Fortune 100 sector of companies you service. Have questions about that we'll come back to also.
Sure.
But inside of your company,
right?
How is your team using AI? How do you think about AI governance? How do you apply it, right? I mean, is it the wild, wild west where anybody can do whatever they want? Is it this is the thumbprint way? Like, how do you think about that?
It's a little bit of that, and we're tinkering with it in lots of different areas. I think the challenge with AI is that it's not fully there yet, and I think the interface of it is what is ultimately going to change and really going to drive what the future looks like. It's very prompt driven.
Sure.
And I get so annoyed when there's ads that pop up with folks is like, hey, let me show you the prompts that you should use to ask the prompts. And then you should ask AI to tell you what prompts to use. It's like, okay, that is going to be so relic
for sure.
soon, right?
For sure.
So first thing we're conscious of is privacy. Is like I need to make sure that the data that we're using of our customers
Smart.
is protected in privacy. So privacy is always at the forefront of the conversation. But as far as the efficiencies of the organization itself, we have we're a functional organization. So we have our sales, marketing, our operations, technology team, and accounting. Like they're all in their functions, and we can talk about that a little bit more too in founder mode. We have leaders in each of those departments that are looking at it for their team. It's like, okay, where are there opportunities? Where are there things that we need to find efficiencies on? Where are there repeatable tasks that we can streamline and automate and those types of things? So they're looking at all of that. I don't want it to be everyone has access to Claude or ChatGPT or anything, because it becomes a time waste at that point. They're just going at things, not really having a purpose.
I've watched companies that do it that way, that just send emails back and forth to each other that are like Claude talking to Claude, and it's like, does anybody know what's being said here?
We're building things, but
a lot more words in these emails.
There's no vision or focus to what it is. Yeah. So we're avoiding that, but we're trying to do it in a strategic way. So it's finding ways to process online orders that have to have a manual touch point to them because they're not clean enough, or there's not an integration into a supplier's inventory the way that it needs to be set up. So where can we bridge some of these gaps where I call it Frankensteining some systems together. In our industry is smaller, so there's like one software that everyone uses. So we have to pull in all of these different things, especially at the level that we're at and the sophistication of things that we're doing. So we have to pull in a lot of different types of platforms and then Frankenstein them together in order to get them to talk to each other so that we can have a streamlined process. So that causes some challenges where we have to have manual touch points to get something across one platform to the next.
Well, AI is really good at the translation layer side of that.
Yeah, so that's where we're seeing a lot
of improvement. It knows what comes out of this system and what needs to go into that system all the time.
Yeah, so it's like it's fixing some of the mapping and pulling data that isn't as accessible, but now it is.
Sure,
because I can get to it. So we're looking at those types of things, and then we're starting to explore. Okay, we're starting to prepare for what is coming. Okay, right, to make sure that.
How do you prepare for the unknown?
Well, there will be things that we will know that we'll need to have. So for example, in our warehouses, making sure that all of our inventory is accurate, is barcoded, that the counts are correct, that how those processes work are clearly and truly documented, so that at some point, it's inevitable. At some point, there will be AI robots that will be coming in that will pick things off of a shelf, or they'll be kitting things together. Like we know that that's coming. I don't know when, but when it comes, I want to be ready with the data to make sure that we don't have to like scramble around
figure it out
to
later.
Figure that out. So things like that we're trying to put together just to make sure that we know what.
Well, you said something, I think you used the term founder mode, and you talked about the departments, kind of functional departments. Unpack that for me a little bit.
So founder mode, I'm super fascinated with it. So Paul Graham from Y Combinator.
Yeah, Y Com, yep.
He wrote a blog post based off of what Brian Chesky said. Brian Chesky is the CEO of Airbnb. He talked to one of their Y Combination founder annual meetings or something like that. So he talked about founder mode. So it's something that Airbnb actually does, but it's really taken back from Apple and Steve Jobs and how he would get into the details of what's going on. So when I think about most startups they either fail or they're slow to scale. Most of it happens because of a couple different things. Is like, and we were a perfect example of this. It's me in a living room. I hire 5 people. And it's like, hey, we're not really sure what we're doing, but what I'm doing is working. So you do that. Yeah. And then you start to get a little bit bigger. It's like, okay, well now you are going to be the vice president of sales, and you're going to be. You're good at accounting, so you take over the accounting, right? So we just start assigning tasks.
That's right.
Right? So, but not necessarily because
they're
the right person for that. They're just,
proximity.
I need someone to do this,
That's right.
so you just do it, right?
Sure.
So that works for short term.
Sure.
It's working for short term, especially at a smaller scale. But as you get bigger and as things grow and as you become more of a mature and developed organization, that causes a lot of problems.
Yep.
Causes a lot of problems.
Been there.
So we start to strip some of that stuff back. So founders mode is based on a couple different principles. One is having a functional organization, having true leaders at the head of those different functions.
Departments
that they know what the work is supposed to be, they know how it's supposed to be worked, and then they have clear objectives of all of the positions. And that's the key. Knowing what the objectives and the accountability of those positions need to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's taking the people away from the actual positions.
Build the seats first.
Yes, and then let's see,
put people on the seats, or
the right people that need to be in those seats. But then the real key to this is be in the details. And when I think of management, and especially back in school, there was the whole mentality of like, in order to be a good manager, you hire good people, and then you let them do their thing,
Sure.
which I think is completely wrong.
Okay.
Completely wrong. It's like, I don't know how you can manage the people if you don't know what they're doing and you don't know how to do it yourself. You shouldn't be doing it.
Sure.
But you should know how to do it. So that's where the founder part comes in. Is like the founder was, at one point, I did everything.
Sure.
Right? And there's a reason why I still don't do some things, because I'm not as good as someone else at it. But I know how to do it. I know what's supposed to be. And I know what the output is supposed to be.
There's a lot of wisdom in that. I mean, you learning some level of self-awareness to say, I'm not as good at this as somebody else. Hire for that, right? Find somebody to come in. There's things I suck at.
Sure.
And bringing people in to support and supplement that makes the whole business move faster.
Right.
Makes everybody work better.
Yeah, and it causes clarity. And I think that's the key. Is like, I'd rather have everyone in the same boat going in the same direction. But if we get too spread out and people are doing all of their own things, there's lots of bad things that start to happen. Is like, you start to become more bureaucratic, and then when you become bureaucratic, then the politics start getting involved, and then they're all fighting for resources, and they all want something that the others have, or they're all trying to get parts of the budget, and then eventually they're all doing their own things, not knowing that people are doing similar things in other areas because there's no one that's tying them together.
I see it all the time. When I talk to companies, I see that all the time. I do a lot of consulting in various company organizations, and I see the same thing, right? It's like the leaders don't necessarily even know what's happening. They just know and when you talk to the doers, the doers are like, well, I do that. And it's like, well, doesn't Johnny also do that? And like, what's happening?
Right.
And that's just a very common experience. It's humans, right? It's like, we grew, we built, and now we don't have systems or process. It's a real thing. Yeah.
So like, and how you break that is having the right people in the right spots, and then having the clear the clear communication from each department. And I meet with my executive team every day, but I don't do one-on-ones. I hate one-on-ones. Like one-on-ones, I think when you do a one-on-one, it's becomes the other person's agenda, and I need it to be my agenda. And most of the time, especially at my level, the one-on-one and the conversation that we're having also involves other people. So then I have to have another one-on-one to meet with the other person to talk about what I just talked about with them. Is like, so, and I'm very hands-on. I'm in the details. So I'm always partnering with our team, talking about the things that I know, the things that I'm learning, the things that I'm seeing. And I'm just asking question after question after question. That's all I do all day long.
How do you, this is a little off the script for AI related stuff, but I'm going to learn from you for a moment.
Sure.
How do you get into the weeds without causing problems? Let me give you a quick thing. I have been told that I have a seagull management style, which is you fly into the room, you poop all over everything, and then you fly out, which I don't think is very healthy. So how do you get into the weeds without feeling like they're being micromanaged or feeling like they, like, just pull up for air on that and walk me through your thinking.
Right. Yes. And there is the micromanagement piece that comes into this too, is like, it's not about micromanaging. And I mean, back to Steve Jobs, like Steve Jobs was famously in the details.
Sure.
Like
Elon Musk is famously in the details. Like some of these guys that are running the 7 companies at the same time can somehow find time to deal with the fender on this car. Like, what the hell?
Right. But they're not necessarily like barking orders or like changing the way that people are doing something. They're trying to understand what it is that they're doing. Where can I add resources? How can I help you? Here's a perspective that I want you to see. The challenging some of this stuff, not necessarily you do it this way, right? And when you do it in that perspective, it's a partnership. And that's how I look at it. It's like, look, I want to partner with you so that we are all on the same page, all moving in the right direction, and that you have the resources that you need, but you also have the perspective that I have.
It's good.
And then I can spread myself out.
That's really good.
To be a part of lots of different things without actually having to be there every single day.
Let's dig a little bit on, I want to be cognizant of your time. Let's dig a little bit on AI related stuff specifically. You talked about how you guys are using it. You talked briefly about the industry. Here's one of the things I find fascinating. You work directly with many Fortune 100 companies. How are you seeing those people you deal with and the companies surrounding them interacting with AI? Is there some level of fear and job security and all that? Is it, so there's a lot of folks that are like, I'm not sure what's coming, and I'm sure, right?
It's the fear of the unknown. It's always going to be there. And it's going to be a natural progression. That same fear happened when Excel spreadsheets came out. Every accountant thought they were going to lose their job. And now we have more accountants than we've ever had ever, right? It's that same type of a fear. All of them are experiencing it. And it's just, but once they start seeing things actually happen and how it starts to play out, how it makes work more beneficial and
get to
healthier,
work on the fun stuff, the
healthier.
easier stuff, whatever.
Yes,
right?
yeah, and things are moving so much faster. As I'm building things, I can't imagine what it was like to actually have to type out code.
I remember. It was the worst.
I'm building something in 3 weekends that took 3 or 4 years in previous lives. So they're seeing that in real life actually play out. And I think that's starting to ease some of those pains.
Are you seeing companies or individuals maybe? I guess I just have to imagine that even at Fortune 100 companies, you've got those that are happy at their job and don't want anything to change. And like, I just want to kind of ride this out and do my thing. And you probably have people that are like, hey man, this is my opportunity to jump the elevator, right? Like climb the levels faster.
They are. And I hear a lot of, there's this kind of mixed mentality. It's a, personally, and this is more of a theoretical type way, but them personally, they're like, I don't want my data, I don't want my personal information to be a part of this ecosystem. But from a macro level, they're like, this is what we need in order to do the things that we need to do, right? I look back at it, and you remember when credit cards came out, and people would just starting to purchase things online. Everyone was so afraid, if I put my credit card into this website, they're going to steal all of my credit card information, right? Eventually, our credit card number's out everywhere now, at least mine is. Right? But I think there's going to be that point where the benefit outweighs the fear, right? And I think we saw that back then, right?
People, everyone's dealing with this differently,
right? And I think as a society, we have to cross that bridge, and then things are really going to change.
How does that? What I loved about this conversation so far is you started with, I grew up in a dentist family. Just guessing, dentists' families, and this is not to stereotype, but just aren't tip of the spear, aren't risk-taking. So they see a technology like AI come along, and it feels foreign and scary and all the things that come with it. An entrepreneur, a builder, sees it and says, right? How do I...
Where are we going with this, right? It's like, what can we do next, right? And I remember when my dad there's new x-ray machines that would come out. He used to do the bite down on this thing and snap the x-ray out, whatever that thing looked like. I remember when that was the way to do it, and then eventually it became a digital thing, and they just pulled it up on a computer screen, and they thought it was life-changing. Right? Now, imagine seeing that, and then AI comes in and is like, here's where there's cavities, and these are things that we need.
Here's how the tooth is going to grow.
This would be something you should start brushing a little bit harder. Or this is why you should be flossing. Like those things are now a reality, whereas back then.
Well, let's talk about your industry specifically. So what I heard is 20,000 people doing this, a lot of single shingle, local yokel, mom and poppies, right? Like small people just that do this on the side or have a, like get their sports teams for their youth leagues, that sort of stuff, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just I don't think of the people operating like that and the people operating like you as the same thing, right? You might be in the same industry, so to speak, but you're not really competitors.
Right.
When you look at your top 50 list, right, where you're playing, the game you're playing, what does AI do for you guys? Is it automation? Is it, because when I remember screen printing was literally like one at a time, right? And then dynamic variable printing, and then direct to garment, and then digital this and that, and like it is it feels like the industry is actually moving pretty quick.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of different levels to this, and where we're going to and where we're preparing for it right now is like already direct to press. We're seeing that stuff happening.
Mean?
So it will be, you don't have to carry inventory, you don't have to buy minimums. It used to be you have to buy 1,000 of these pens in order to put an order in. Now it'll be you just have an order, and it could be one, it could be 100,000, it doesn't matter.
Because it doesn't have a setup fee. There's no cost associated with switching something out to make it happen. It just prints.
The economies of scale start to change because I don't have all of these different touch points that increase the cost that makes it inefficient to do one. Right. And we do that a lot. We have a lot of our e-commerce stores don't have any inventory at all. It's just a digital mock-up that lives up on an e-commerce store. And when someone orders it, the order automatically populates. It goes right into our system and it goes to the press. It prints digitally and then it drop ships. I just have someone that takes it off the press and puts it into a bag. The label already prints off. Literally, they slap it on and they're out. That's how we can do it so fast. It's just a seamless process.
Well, why isn't everyone doing that?
It's the setup of it is difficult, and then having the actual resources in order to actually print it that way. It takes a lot. It takes a lot more of an ecosystem to build that.
Got it.
And the technology is not as available as it would be for other things. But it's going that way. Like eventually it'll be accessible to everyone. Eventually at some point there won't have to be any interaction. Like we're going to just know when you need something. It'll just be an automatic reorder. Things will just trigger within whatever data points that are coming at us that says.
Man, I look at your industry and all I've seen is I've watched from a distance. We went to a concert, a couple weeks ago, and the band was sold out of a size of shirt. I'm like, who's in charge of this?
Right.
How do you say you're asking $50 for a t-shirt and you don't have any?
Right.
Why?
Yes. And the margins on what they're selling it, they should have deep inventory for that, right?
Or have a way to get more, right? If it doesn't take 6 months to procure it and ship it and build it, like why? That's the part that I think a lot of people just leave on the table, right? It's like the optimization. We struggled at Moonshot, my game store. Okay, we didn't buy much merch for a long time because it just felt like an expense. It felt like something that I was like, man, that doesn't fit in our line item. It wasn't a thing. Like the moment we moved to like everybody wear a shirt, it changes morale. It changed everything. Now we're way too small to buy from you guys. We used to work with you guys many years ago, right? But we're not a Fortune 100 company. But we buy small, 10 shirts at a time, kind of a thing, and it's wild. Like the staff feels better. It helps customers. It's like
you become a team.
Really, for $10 we fought this. Like, what are we doing?
Right. And the culture starts to change. I mean, there's so many other aspects to it other than the look.
Yeah.
Right. There's the psychology that goes behind it of having something that says, I care about you, that you're important to me, that you are a part of something that's bigger than you. Like that's what this stuff does. Like that's why this becomes important. I don't think it will ever go away. It's just going to change in form.
Sure.
But it's going to be there because and that's why I think now it's more important because of just the world that we're living in. If I can, the birthday cards, I want to do that because that is such a thoughtful thing that people remember. And it's very inexpensive for me to do that. But the impact when it's received because no one else is doing it.
My best friend, Vince Egan, who you used to know from college way back in the day, to this day sends my wife and I an anniversary card every year. The only human being.
Yes.
Like no one else even knows when our anniversary is outside of us.
Right.
And every year Vince sends us a card. And it's the cutest that my wife endeared to him forever, right? That he thinks of that. And I'm sure, knowing Vince, he probably just has like a handwritten calendar note and a little Franklin Covey planner that he looks up and boom, he sends it. But good for him. He's like your grandpa, your grandma back in the day, right? That was like prioritizing the human side of this stuff.
Right. And that's what gets remembered, right? Well, and that's why I think the product in many situations is agnostic, is that it's the thought behind it and it's the meaning behind it. Is like, this person is important enough to me that I'm going to take whatever extra time, whether it's true or not, but the perception of that time that says this person at least matters to me this much.
That's real. And I mean, the reason I wanted to have you on this show is about AI, where we touched on AI a little bit, but it really is the human side of this stuff. Because what you do is you bring emotion and feeling into a relationship, right? With physical things, tangible things. It's not an AI-generated email that I can't tell if you wrote it or someone else wrote it, right? Now, maybe that's part of a campaign or a plan or a program, but touching something. You walked in here and handed me a bottle that I'm going to take home and my wife's going to take to the gym and it's going to be a whole thing. She goes to the gym. I don't go to the gym. Different conversation. But I mean, it's a tangible thing that you use. That's a real thing. And as I look forward into the future, right? Yes, we're going to have robots picking shelves for us, but touching base with real humans, sending them stuff that you thought of to send them, right? Even if the robots and the AI are helping inform what to send them, or maybe helping you optimize your spend to get the most bang for the buck, or helping you target the right people. The fact that you triggered something and sent them something that shows up. I know you didn't print that bottle just for me. Right? You printed it as a part of a thing, but you brought it for me and it made me feel good. That's neat.
And that's it.
Right?
That's in its core. That's when you strip it all apart. That's what it means.
I think that's huge. I'm going to ask you a final question. It's the same question I ask everybody as my final question. When you're thinking about AI, is there anything, and if so, what is it that keeps you up at night, that makes you worried about our future? As humans, as people in society, like what is it that makes you go, oh boy?
I'm not really worried about it. I'm on the optimist side.
Same.
What I really would like for it to be and get to is an extension of me, right? And I really think what we can get there is where it's thinking for me and thinking with me and doing things that it knows that I need, right?
Do you worry about losing agency in that model? Do you worry about offloading? So I had an opportunity to talk to the folks at Notre Dame's Institute for Ethics and the Common Good. These are philosophers studying AI philosophy. They just got a $50 million grant to study this thing, right? Wild. And in talking to them, they were saying things like, you use GPS, right? And as you drive, you use GPS all the time. You start to forget where you're going because GPS is just taking you there. Good example I would use is, how many phone numbers do you have memorized today?
Yeah, not nearly as many as I used to.
Maybe 3, literally. I have less than 10. So is that okay? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Do I need to have those phone numbers memorized? Is offloading that okay so that I can focus my mental capacity over here? That's the part I would push back on with the helping it make my life easier. Like, when do we turn into WALL-E where we're all just laying around watching iPads and nobody's doing anything?
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of it in ways as like, Nicole and I were just in Philadelphia last week, and it's like, hey, here, I've already booked you the reservations for the hotels I know you want to stay at. I know what you like to eat. Here's your tickets for the Liberty Bell so you don't have to stand in line. Like those easy type things that I was going to do anyways, but it has been with me long enough that it knows how to anticipate my needs. Right. And it's the logistics of making that happen. We need to think through some things, but I think in concept is like, that's where I want it to be.
Well,
it's like,
man, I love that, but I also worry because I don't know that we as humans know when to stop.
And that's where I think the logistics, we're going to have to figure that out.
sure.
Like, I eat a banana every single day. I should know every 6 days I'm going to need another set of bananas. Like,
Right.
They just show up. We have the infrastructure is there to do those types of things. It's like, well, what does it do if I'm on vacation? Or
It just orders the bananas.
Yeah. So I'm going to have all these bananas that are rotten and sitting in front of my door. Right. So thinking through, like, okay, what does the interface look like? Like, I don't think it's going to be prompt at some point. I don't think it's going to be, I don't even think it'll be speech. I think it'll be like
Thinking.
Yeah, it's going to know my bank account. It's going to know like my transactions. It's just going to be there and at a much deeper conceptual level.
See, I'm here for that. I think a lot of listeners to this show, people that are still trying to process all of this, aren't ready.
Yeah. And that's where I go back to that analogy of the credit card, putting your credit card
Sure.
into a
Now it's no problem.
yeah, now it's nothing. And I think at some point we will get to that same comfortable level where that's okay, where it's okay. And it's okay for us to get in a car without a steering wheel and let it take us to where we need to go.
I think you and I are aligned on that. I have a Tesla. Today for lunch, I got in the car,
Push the button.
hit the button, didn't touch the steering wheel until it parked me at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Because it was all coded in and ready to rock, right? And so I'm here for that.
Right. I mean, and imagine like when we can have like the quantum computing is going to get thrown into the mix. We're going to have fusion energy or some type of hydrogen energy that is, I mean, almost infinite. And you can go in a semi truck without a driver from New York to LA in 2 days.
Changes
Right.
everything.
It literally does.
Yeah,
And
changes everything.
it's a whole
Especially in
different
your
type of
world, it's going to lower costs for
Oh my gosh.
transport
yes.
and everything else that comes with it.
And I can move faster.
Right.
We can move faster doing it that way. And I mean, the environment also matters. Like there's
Sure.
an environmental factor to this where it's like, can we solve that problem as well? Like, how does this all
Lots
this
of
whole-
problems to
this-
solve, right?
This whole
We're not gonna
ecosystem come together.
solve them all, but I love having these conversations. I love hearing about industries like yours. It sounds like you guys are just pushing, and it's so
We're
neat.
trying.
It's really neat. I've been watching your journey for years, and it's so cool to see you go from selling t-shirts at the back of a truck
Yeah.
at Ball State
Yeah.
to
Literally.
Fortune 100 companies and everything in between. And it's neat to see I know many of the humans on your team too. You just have
Yeah.
great people that work for you.
Yep.
It's neat to see you investing in those folks and building something with them. So really grateful for you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Cheers.
All right.
What a fun conversation with my friend Tom. I still, Tommy, I'm going to call him Tommy forever because I grew up knowing him as Tommy, but what an inspirational dude. It's really cool to hear actual, like from the battlefield stories about, I'm building a company, AI comes along. How does it impact my company? How do we think about it? One of the things I like about how Tom's perspective is he is a sprint into the fire entrepreneur, but he's not reckless, right? Him and his team are taking time thinking about how do we integrate this in a reasonable, responsible, efficient way instead of just turning it on and hoping that it works. And so I really respect that perspective. I think that's really wise. And the thing that just comes back to his success is thinking about the customer first, like being so focused on the customer that like that's all that matters. Everything else will figure itself out. Let's focus on the customer. And I think AI lets us do more of that. It lets us personalize more. You heard his story about birthday cards, right? We can do more of that. We can go deeper and have more personalization built into how we interact with our customers by using AI to help us get there. And so thanks, Tommy, for coming on and being a part of the show. I look forward to continuing to watch your journey as you guys take over the world. We'll see you guys again next week.